Bro, here's why the people who kept shouting and yelling at you are actually very insecure and poor at regulating their emotions. So, bro, I think a hopeful message for people like me and you who are actually healing our traumas and going on this journey to heal our inner child and do all the shadow work is really like those teachers, even your parents, you know, your dad and your mom, the people who kept shouting at you like bullies at school. All those people were actually very insecure and are just people who can't control themselves. And if you look at them on the outside, yes, they look like they're terrifying, right? Like they're very, very scary, and you know, that's what makes our inner child afraid, me and you, of these people. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like that shouting and yelling, that in and of itself is traumatic. That is absolutely traumatic. Like people yelling at you, like your teacher shouting at you, your mother, your dad, like those are your caregivers, bro. Those are your parents are the people who are your primary source of love and care, right? But really, like if we think about it, like these people, they shouted at you because they were emotionally immature, right? So like one of the 48 laws of power, there's a law called stir up the water so you scatter the fish, something like that, right? But it talks about a story, and this is one of the best stories ever in history, right? Where Napoleon, right, who was like the emperor of France, like one of the most powerful people ever, right? His chief officer wants to overtake him, right? And Napoleon discovers that. So he goes into his office and he just yells and shouts and breaks things and insults him with every word in the book, right? Instead of being calm and collected, right? He does the opposite. He just explodes, right? But Charles, the chief officer, he was very calm and collected, and he was unfazed, right? He just didn't respond at all. And what happened is Napoleon kept shouting and screaming at him, and when Napoleon left, Charles, you know, went over to the people who were with them in the room and told them, look how immature Napoleon is, and he actually overtake him, right? So what Robert Greene is trying to say is true power, true masculinity, right, is calm, it's centered, it's still. And the thing is, like, if you think about it, like this is why young women fall for narcissists. This is why, like people with dark triad, especially like narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellians, they do this a lot. They shout and yell and seem like they're very aggressive and dominant, but that's because they're very insecure and they feel very empty inside. They're like, these people who shout and yell are actually some of the most empty people you would ever meet in your life. And what I mean by empty is internal emptiness. These people feel like they're very insecure and they're very weak. Like it's kind of like you have this weak child, right? They have like this weak child inside of them. And what it does, like what happens when these people scream is like that inner child that's so weak and just traumatized and destroyed is trying to say, oh, look how powerful I am, right? Like that's what they do. And like the term masculinity has been bastardized. The term has been absolutely destroyed and is termed toxic nowadays. Like toxic masculinity, you hear that everywhere now. But I think masculinity, masculine energy is a very powerful and beautiful energy, honestly. It's an energy that creates and builds and innovates and helps people and protects people and provides for people. It's a very good and moral energy. And really, true masculine energy is all about being calm and collected and emotionally in control of your emotions and still, just like a mountain, right? That's really what masculinity is having like this internal strength that nothing phases you. Like imagine, bro, I'm just gonna be honest, because if we're actually healing trauma, like imagine if that was your father, bro. Imagine if your father was like very calm, very collected all the time. You know, he was in control and he just loved you unconditionally. Like no matter what happened, if the car stopped, if you know you made a mistake, if you broke the vase at home, if you broke the window, your father would just love you unconditionally. He was just very calm. He just never reacted, never shouted. He was always calm in his speech. Imagine how safe you would feel, bro. Imagine how secure you would feel if your father was actually, because that's a real man, that's genuine masculinity. But what happens is, like, people always say, like, people have this just bastardized view of masculinity, which is like, oh, it's all about this muscular, aggressive man who's just very controlling and very narcissistic and who shouts and yells at everyone. But that's not masculinity, that's just emotional immaturity, if you really think about it, right? That's just weakness, that's insecurity. True power, true masculinity is all about being calm, being collected. So yeah, bro, like, I know if you're healing trauma, like, you keep remembering all these memories of, you know, your father beating you or screaming at you, maybe your mother beating you or screaming at you, and your brothers shouting and screaming, or this teacher screaming at you. But we really have to think, like, these people were just poor at regulating their emotions. It's not our fault. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not our fault at all. It has nothing to do with you. It's not you. It's not you. It's their poor emotional regulation. It's their emotional immaturity. It's their insecurity. And I'm telling you, bro, like, once I realized that, because I'm not gonna lie, like, a lot of times, like, you know, when, like, your dad shouts all of a sudden, like when he's sleeping, or, you know, your brother makes like a sound, or you make a sound, and like, your father just shouts all of a sudden, or, you know, your mom shouts, or like your teacher shouts, whatever. Like, a lot of times, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'll tell you a story. Like, today, I was sitting in my room, you know, researching for like, what I'm gonna do, like, for a video, and you know, researching about things and reading this book, right? And suddenly, you know, like, my brother's just doing something in the bathroom, right? Like, there's this like squeaky sound, and, you know, everything's cool, right? And my dad's sleeping, and my dad just suddenly wakes up and just shouts, and, you know, knocks on like my brother in the toilet. And what happened is, I felt like my heart racing, because really, like, self-therapy is all about self-awareness. So when something happens like that, this is basically called like a trauma trigger, right? What I experienced was the trauma trigger. So basically, I remembered all of the trauma that I went through, really, or a lot of it, right? And that made my heart beat very fast and made my nervous system dysregulated. But what I did is, I just put my phone down and I just got into bed, and I just started reparenting my inner child, and, you know, imagining like the ideal, you know, like the ideal parent figure protocols, when you imagine like an ideal mother, ideal father, like comforting you, right? And, you know, fulfilling all your ultimate needs. Like, I found that's one of the best ways for me personally to self-soothe, honestly, is I just get in bed, you know, hug my pillow, you know, that actually reduces your cortisol, increases your oxytocin, right? So it calms me down, and I just put the blanket, I just imagine like this ideal mother and this ideal father. And this is so powerful, because our brains can distinguish between imagination and memory. So your brain, like, is genuinely assured that this is actual memory, like these ideal parents that you're imagining. You could really, it's a very powerful way to heal like deep childhood trauma. But yeah, like, and this happens a lot, like, and this is life. Like, of course you're gonna see people who shout, and you're gonna see, like, this is gonna happen to you. But what I learned is just really, like, it really just has nothing to do with you. Like, what I learned from reading Freud and Jungian psychology is really, we all have negative emotions. We all have negative emotions every day, right? But really, like, emotions are just energy emotions. So emotions are just energy that's moving, right? If it's negative, like anger, stress, or anxiety, right? Like, we all get, like, life happens and we all have these negative emotions, right? But really, and Freud talks about this, negative emotions have three paths, really. So basically transfer this energy, because, you know, in physics, like, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only be transferred, right? So they transfer this energy through three ways. So the first way is basically coping mechanisms, or really addictions, right? So things like porn, video games, junk food, they use these things as coping mechanisms for negative emotions, because these things, what they do is, they increase your dopamine to very high unnatural levels, which makes us regulate our emotions temporarily, right? Like it doesn't heal the negative emotion, it just puts them aside, right? That's the first path. The second path is what Freud calls projection. And this is what these people do. This is what the people who hurt your inner child do. Is because they have these negative emotions, they're so weak they can't control them, they project that onto other people. They project it onto other people. So if they're feeling stressed, they're just shout at other people and make other people stressed. They're feeling angry, they'll unleash that anger and project it onto other people. These two ways, I would say, are just immature. And the most mature way is the third way, which is into what Freud calls sublimation. And basically, it's just self-improvement. And Freud calls this the most mature way to basically cope or soothe negative emotions, because this is what actually heals them. Putting it out into healthy habits, like reading books, for example, like lifting weights, meditating, journaling, creating content. I'm not gonna lie to you, like self-soothing the inner child, doing shadow work, self-awareness. This is a mature solution. This is a very mature solution to heal negative emotions and cope with negative emotions. This is the ultimate solution, really. And the way you tell it's mature is because it's very hard and it's emotionally challenging to unleash your negative emotions in healthy ways, in productive ways. Most people can't do that. Most people just unleash these negative emotions into projecting it on other people, or in dysfunctional addictive behaviors. That's really it. I just want to tell you, I want to tell you, your inner child, bro, it's not your fault. Those people who shouted at you, those people who screamed at you, who yelled at you, who even beat you, it's not your fault, bro. It's not your fault at all. Those people were insecure, they were emotionally immature, they are poor at regulating their own emotions. So don't even worry about them. Don't even worry about them, right? Keep improving, keep doing you, bro. And that's what I learned. And as always, we're in this together, and we will make it.